Here we are again, this time in snowy conditions. Welcome to Spooky Lee's Historic Dartmoor.
Spooky Lee, Spooky Lee, Spooky Lee, Historic Dartmoor.
The places he goes, the things that he knows, he'll curl up my toes. He's Spooky Lee. The places he goes, the things that he knows, he'll curl up my toes. He's Spooky Lee. The places he goes, the things that he knows, he'll curl up my toes. He's Spooky Lee. He's Spooky Lee. He's Spooky Lee.
Historic Dartmoor.
So Lee, can you tell us what's so special about this pub then, please?
Well, here we have the Warren House Inn. Now this is a very special pub because for many, many years this place has been a beacon of hope for all those weary travellers going across the moor.
Now you did say about a fire ages ago in this pub. Now what's so special about the fire inside the pub? Can you explain that?
Now the fire, in a second we'll be going inside and I'll be showing you why this particular fire is one of the most famous throughout Dartmoor.
So how long has this pub been standing? Has it been in the Roman times, the witches' times, medieval times? How long?
It was built in 1845 and it replaced the new inn, which was basically here on this side of the road.
Yeah.
Other important things that we need to know about the Warren House is that it's one of the highest pubs in England at 1,400 feet.
So it was built after the death of Christ, not BC and that, and yeah.
Oh yes, so yeah, this is 19th century.
Is there anything else on this thing that we should know about before there was a pub and that? Anything else on here, or no? Was it just like empty?
No, before the new inn it was just empty.
No.
One of the good things about this is that we see the link with our traditions. The pub sign there depicts 3 hares, which was an ancient pagan fertility symbol, which was adopted by the tin miners. The reason why this is called the Warren House Inn is because there were local Warrens around here, and that's something that we'll be looking at in another edition.
Why is the sign so interesting then?
Well, because it gives us an indication of how we still hold reverence to the past, to the tin miners that worked around here, who made their living. And it's nice to see that those things are still remembered in such things as pub signs.
Do you think these will still be remembered in a couple of years' time, to respect them, or?
I think yes, as long as this pub is here, I would hope that they will retain the signs and the traditions of this area.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lee. Should we go inside?
Yes, let's go inside. Well, here we are, inside the Warren, and here we have the famous fireplace. Now they say this fireplace, the fire within it, has been burning since 1845. That's the popular story.
So what you're trying to say is never ever been put out then? The fire's never been put out and that?
No, that's the story that goes along with this. And they say that when this pub was built, this fire was brought across by shovel from the new inn, which was across the road, and obviously ceased to be a pub.
Thanks a lot for that, Lee. Let's get warm with the fire then.
Well, I don't know about you, but I need a drink. Chin chin.
Like pot thing, there you go, ribbit, because he always used to water every week. I'm like, ribbit. Yeah, one time I was in the going up, one time I was there.
Well, here we are at Grimspound on the moor, and we're here at the main entrance. As you'll see, the selection of stones either side. The antiquarians have decided that this would have been the main entrance.
So Lee, can you tell us why we are here then?
Well, Grimspound is probably the best known Bronze Age site on the moor. What we're looking at here is either a place where a farming community lived, or it was a place where they came occasionally to trade.
So Lee, what's it consist of then?
Well, here at Grimspound we essentially have 24 huts, 24 places. I was going to say that 24 dwellings, but in fact during the great excavations here they found that probably only 13 of these huts were actually inhabited.
Could you tell us what year this was around? Was it around witches, Romans or medieval?
Well, this is Bronze Age, so I think this will be possibly around about 3000 years BC.
So do you think Romans did trade in here, or did they just walk past here? Or?
Well, it's a strange thing with the Romans. We know that they were on Dartmoor, but there's very little evidence of them. I get the feeling that maybe they had the odd outpost here, but maybe Dartmoor wasn't very important to them.
Should we go inside then, Lee?
Yes, let's go inside.
So Lee, can you tell me why it's called Grimspound then?
Grimspound, yes, it's an interesting name, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was given in 1797 by a local reverend, and it's essentially of two parts. The grim part being, well, deriving from some idea that this whole site had a diabolical meaning, hence grim, and pound is any enclosure, so hence Grimspound.
So what do you think they might have done trading? Was it because of sheep, horses, cows, or?
Yes, as I say, there are different ideas of what this place may have been. If it was a place for people to come to trade, then yes, they would have been trading such things as cattle and tools, flint, weapons, grain, so those essential things that we all need to survive.
Yes, so do you think there was any beasts, like lions and that, or no?
Well, there would have been a large boar around here, and quite possibly other creatures such as bears. One of the important things about Grimspound is that you would imagine somewhere with a walled enclosure would have meant that the people here were afraid of attack. But in fact, when you look at the local geography, over that side you have Hameldown. Over this side you have Hookney Tor.
So what were them? Were they like outpost posts, just in case the enemy turned up, or?
Well, because around about us we've got such high ground, this doesn't seem to be the sort of place where you would build a defensive fort, because if you were going to be attacked you wouldn't be able to see your enemy coming at you from both these sides. If it was going to be somewhere where they feared attack, they would build on high ground where they could see the enemy coming at them. So that tells us that either when this was built it was a very peaceful time and they weren't in fear of their neighbours, or that maybe this place wasn't inhabited and that in fact there was nothing here of any value, so it wouldn't be worth people coming and invading, which lends the idea that this might be a place where people would come to trade.
Should we go and find this hut then, Lee?
Yes, let's see if we can find something of particular interest.
Honey, I'm home. Tell you what, views, it looks like a very small hut, doesn't it? Huh? I think if they're around now, I think they wouldn't like me standing in their house anyway. It gives me the creeps in here, I'll tell you that now. Because I'm in someone else's house that's not alive now, so it does give me a bit of the creeps. So I think we better move on, views. Let's go and find Spooky Lee. That was a house. That to me looks like it's going to be a bed or a chair.
Yes, what we have here, this is one of the dangers of when you do look at the archaeology of an area. What we have here is a hut circle that's very obviously in much better condition than the others, and that's because in the 19th century this was effectively refurbished. So they took stones that were lying roundabout, and then they erected the stones to what they think would have been the original design. Now the danger, of course, is that they might be quite wrong, but it certainly looks very good, doesn't it? And I think they've got the right idea. They've got the passageway coming in, and the passageway doesn't come into the main area because of the wind coming through. So they wanted their own corridor that would have been pretty chilly, but then in here you'd have had the hearth and where they would have cooked and kept themselves warm.
Do you think has there been any dead bones along here in these things, or no?
Ah, yes, previous excavations. All we've found are some arrowheads, spearheads, and some small shards of pottery.
So do you think they might have abandoned this place then?
It would have been abandoned, yes, if it was ever really inhabited for a long time. Because of the peat in the Dartmoor soil, it's very acidic, and so lots of things would be lost in that acidity.
So has there been any other life then, like just trading, or has there been like any witches, you know, that could have like used this place for like, you know, cursed people and that? Or do you just think it's just used like for normal people, peasants?
Well, in the 18th century, and of course before that, there were folklore and superstition was rife, and with the people thinking this could have been of a diabolical orientation, it wouldn't surprise me if there was stories about witches being here and casting spells from this remote place. If we look over there, one other thing to note about Grimspound is that you will see there's a lack of huts in this area here. It's mostly grasses. So we think maybe that could have been where there were various wooden structures, or maybe one large wooden structure.
Do you think there was any, you know, haunted places here, or no?
Strangely enough, for such a famous place, there are no myths or legends that I know of, and I've read quite a few books about this place, and no, strangely, there aren't any recorded, but as I say, I'm sure, going back into the centuries, that this would have been a place that people spoke of, but maybe they didn't write about it.
Okay then, Lee, thanks for letting us know about Greenspound. Should we move on to the next one?
Yes, we are now going up that hill up there. We're on our way to Hameldown.
So, more code, viewers.
Yes, prepare for a drop in temperature.
Right up the hill, isn't it?
Right up the hill.
Colder than it was the other day in Iceland than it was in England. So it looks a very good view up here, Greenspan. Look at that. Nice view out there.
Plenty of wool here, so maybe we've had a sheep savaged. is a trig sign, and it allows people to locate themselves on a map, or equally to locate somebody else. This is an identifier of an area, and you'll find these on Ordnance Survey maps. What we're going to do is have a walk along the eastern ridge now,
Yeah.
and we're looking for something in particular. Let's go and have a look.
No, we just found a stick pointing out here. We don't know what it assembles. All I can think it could be a tree. Viewers, doesn't look very thingy. We're really trying to look for it. It's Hammersmith place. Can't find it anywhere. Spooky. He's up there somewhere, viewers, but I don't know if he's seen it. I think we should go to the next place. It's freezing up here. Right on top of Dartmoor. Just watching now, don't walk on any snakes. I know there's snakes in these grass, snakes and that. Adders, not black adder viewers, adders and grass snakes. Oh, if there's pythons in here, you wouldn't even get me on Dartmoor views. I think they're the ones that wrap around and kill you, strangle you to death.
Boa constrictors.
Oh, are they bone constrictors, are they? I don't know.
They're Dartmoor.
If they are, I wouldn't be here, would I?
Don't know.
No, he's gone missing now. Can't find him now. So Lee, this is not what you'd expect to find, this big thing in the middle, would you?
No, it's not. In this fairly desolate part of the moor, here we have the site of an air crash, and as you can see on the plaque here that was put on there in 1991, it was in March 1941 that a Hamden aircraft was coming back from France, and it was returning to its airbase in Lincolnshire, and in bad visibility it crashed. I'm guessing that it would have come from this part of the moor, coming back from France, and it's suddenly hit this rising hill here, and of course in poor visibility they wouldn't have seen where they were going, so they've just come slamming into this.
Do you think all 4 crew died here, or do you think just one of them died here, or do you think they all just went missing?
All 4 crew perished, unfortunately, and on the back of this stone is etched their initials and squadron number.
Must be a terrible way to die in the moors though, mustn't it?
Yes, we don't quite know if it was death on impact or if it was a long and lingering one. But yes, terrible way to go, but it was all part of the war effort. Many people lost their lives.
Do you think there's many crashes on Dartmoor, or do you think was just this the only one?
Well, certainly during the Second World War there were many crashes. We know of over 30 on Dartmoor. One of the things is there were 9 aircraft fields in Devon, just in Devon, so with all this airplane activity, it's no wonder really that there were so many crashes.
Were they were English, weren't they, when they came back, weren't they?
Yes, that's right. Yes, RAF.
So was this a stone before anything else, or was it just a stone for what happened to the people that died and that?
Oh, that's a good question. The stone itself was probably erected so that they could then put the plaque onto it, I would guess. And there were probably some craters around here where the impact was. And who knows, it may even be this area here.
You can see they've all got pompies and crosses there and that.
Yes, I think on a fairly regular basis people still come along to put down poppies and wreaths as well.
Family and that, I think.
Family, yes, and anyone connected with the RAF around here.
Must have been terrible though, missing it, to die in that.
Yes, it must have been pretty awful.
Lee, moving on somewhere now? Or?
Yes, what we're going to do now is walk about half a mile up there to have a look at something else that remains from the war years.
So Lee, can you tell us what we're doing here now then? These poles in there?
Yes, you'll see a line of poles going along here, made of wood, pretty frightening looking objects. You will also notice that we're here on Hameldown, and for Dartmoor it's quite a large area of flat land. These poles were put up during the Second World War to deter German aircraft from landing, because they could easily have used this area here as a landing strip. So the wooden planks were put up so that the Germans would think twice before trying to land. And I don't know if it actually did deter any Germans from landing, but it was certainly good forethought by the British to put these up.
Do you think the planes could have landed anywhere else or no?
There would have been other places, and I'm sure they would have dealt with it in an equal way. But of course Dartmoor is so hilly, and there aren't too many areas where you have one straight flat area.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that, Lee. Should we move on to the next place?
Yes, let's move on to the next place before the rains come. We're now off to the Dartmoor area.
Let's go.
Historic Dartmoor.
So Lee, can you tell us why you've brought to us this place here?
Yes, of course. This looks pretty insignificant really. It's just a couple of stones. But here is the coffin stone. Between 1260 and the early 20th century, people from down in Dartmoor and Hexworthy who died were physically brought uphill, and it's quite a task getting the coffin up. They're brought uphill so that they could be buried over that way in Widcombe. It was tradition that when they came along they would stop here and place the coffin onto this stone so that they could have a little drop of whiskey and to discuss the deceased, and it was obviously very welcome for those who'd been carrying the coffin up, because they could have a bit of a rest.
So why is it separated in two places then, Lee? Can you explain that why?
Yes, there's a lovely story behind this. It's said that many years ago a hated man was being brought up by people in his coffin, and the coffin was put down here as ever in the tradition. But because he was such a horrible man, God decided that he didn't want the man to be buried at Widcombe. So a bolt of lightning came down from the sky, destroyed the coffin, and in the process separated this rock into two halves. When this happened, there were some remains of the coffin and of the body, but the people decided that they wouldn't bury the man because God obviously didn't want him buried up at the church.
So was the witches buried here, or was there just Romans, or?
Well, here, I don't think so. There may have witches may have found this to be of some use. Maybe because anything with a story would attach, it would attract cults.
Okay, thanks Lee. What's our next place we're going to now?
We're now going downhill to Dartmoor.
Okay. So Lee, can you tell us where we are today then?
Well, I thought no series on Dartmoor would be complete without a trip to Dartmoor. It's such a nice picturesque area, and it's a very touristy place, but we've come in at the right time of the year. We're here in the winter when it's not frenetic and frenzied.
It looks like there's plenty of tourists that come to this place. Why is that then?
Well, I think because it is quite dramatic, it's where the West Dart and the East Dart collide, effectively here, which forms the River Dart.
What's so special about these bridges then, these two bridges here?
Here we have the remains of an old clapper bridge, and as you can see it's now largely demolished. What happened was they had a severe storm a few years ago, and the stones were washed away.
Did they ever use this, like stones, like in BC, you know, Roman time, witches' time, medieval times? Was it like a bridge for them? Was it?
Yes, the bridge was. This bridge was built probably 15th or 16th century, but most of them started at around 1400 to carry pack horse trade routes across streams and rivers. So this one would have been around for, certainly 500 years.
They used, like, you know, trade animals along here or something like that?
That's right, yes, all sorts would have been brought across.
Lions, tigers, bears?
Probably bears, yes, some of the indigenous creatures.
Why not tigers or lions then? Are they just too vicious for them or what?
Well, unless they'd been brought in from overseas to a private collection, I don't think you would have got such beasts here in England. Okay,
thanks a lot for that, Lee.
That's okay. And that brings us to the end of this edition of Spooky Lee's Historic Dartmoor. We'll see you again next time.
Bye.